A few months ago, my Slate colleague Alex Salmon got a text. You've probably gotten something similar. I feel like I get one of these a week. The random number job recruiter text.
It said, "Hi there. Sorry to interrupt. I'm from Indeed. We're currently recruiting remote product testers, US-based."
The number that the text came from, by the way, had a 6-3 country code, which is the Philippines.
This role lets you earn $50 to $400 per day by spending just 60 to 120 minutes daily testing and reviewing new products or services online, all from the comfort of your home. Same-day payment is available after each task is completed.
To be clear, this text did not actually come from Indeed, which is a legit job search company. This text was a scam. And according to a CBS report, these scams are up 118% in the last 2 years.
Requirements: must be 25 years or older, must be able to provide basic feedback in English, no prior experience needed, and training will be provided. If you're interested and meet the age requirement, please reply yes to receive more details.
I would have deleted this text. You might have deleted this text, but Alex did not.
You know the old journalist credo, right? You run towards danger, not away from it. So when a phishing scam hits your inbox, you have no choice but to sometimes have no choice but to accept.
Alex replied yes for journalism. He was going to let the recruiter, I'm using air quotes, sign him up.
I was ready. I was ready to enter the workforce yet again.
Today on the show, the very strange story of what happened next. I'm Lizzie O'Leary, and you're listening to What Next TBD, a show about technology, power, and how the future will be determined. Stick around. You know what doesn't belong in epic summer plans? Getting burned by your old wireless bill. That's why you should switch to Mint Mobile. Even Slate's president, Charlie Kammerer, is using Mint Mobile. And he says more people should be trying this out. It was really easy to switch providers. The SIM card was shipped to his home. They let him use his existing phone, and he didn't even have to change his phone number. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get this new customer offer and your 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/whatnext. That's mintmobile.com/whatnext. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 per month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. In the grand pantheon of online scams, the one that targeted Alex is known as a task scam. It's pretty low effort. Sometimes it starts with flattery. Hey, I saw your online resume. And then there's a job offer that sounds almost too good to be true. Work from home, make good money, do easy, repetitive work. It sounds too good to be true because it is. And the task scam is on the rise.
There's a technological element to it. There's an economic element to it. There's a regulatory element to it as well that, we've had this proliferation of cryptocurrencies and these digital technologies that make this stuff super easy to pull off. And then we also are living in a world where the enforcement mechanisms, the regulatory agencies are sort of non-existent. And that's obviously a flourish, particularly of this Trump administration. And so it's like, it's a perfect storm in a lot of levels. And it's hard to know exactly what any specific scam is after, but you have personal information, you have money. There are things that can be enriching to someone else if in their hands. So it's all types.
When you were doing this reporting, you talked to an assistant director at the FTC about how prevalent these kinds of scams are. What did you learn?
I spoke with them, and what they told me was that this particular sort of scam has been, massively on the rise in recent months and years. It's tough because they sent me some data that they've collected on this stuff, and in the first 6 months of 2024, like the numbers explode in terms of number of task scams and in terms of dollar value that has been extracted. I think it was hundreds of millions of dollars they'd seen stolen via task scams in the first 6 months of 24. And I think what's really interesting about that is not just that the number is really high, obviously it is, but they at the FTC operate with this understanding that they only ever find out about 5% of what's going on. So like,
wow,
the numbers that they get, like that $200 million number that they relayed to me, they said they're under the expectation that that's about 1/20th of the real scam activity and the real amount of money that's being ripped off by that scam activity. So the FTC is obviously massively attenuated by the Trump administration's commitment to hollowing it out, to firing its leadership, to minimizing its budget. And of course, they're also, it takes a while to compile these numbers. So, here we are in August of 2025. I think you and I, Lizzie, probably both rarely got a task scam text, a year ago or a year and a half ago, and now get them basically every day. So, you would imagine these numbers are actually much, much, much bigger and have ramped up, in recent weeks and months dramatically.
Years ago on this show, we reported on pig butchering scams, which are sort of a different but somewhat similar scam. Let's call them a cousin of the task scam. And I wonder how the changes in technology have enabled this kind of scamming. When I have reported on scam compounds, you'll have like one person with 10 phones reportedly scamming lots of people. But I would imagine with a task scam, there's a lot of stuff that can be done in an automated way.
Yeah, it's a really great question. And I was very curious about this too. It never got totally clear to me. Obviously, sort of like my perspective, my position on this thing was just being on the receiving end of it. And the number of people involved never really revealed itself to me. There was one person that I spoke to, which was Cathy, who is my boss and coach and mentor and friend, depending on the day or the mood that she was in or like how hard I was working. I never spoke with another person. So could the whole thing have been done by her? It's possible. And I think there are a lot of these that you could definitely, could be automated out. Like a lot of these particular flourishes seem, ripe for technological innovation, automation, whatever.
Could be AI texting you.
Totally, right? Like, I would almost expect it. I genuinely was surprised when I talked to a real person. And I think that's a funny reality of all of this is that for all of these advances in technology that we've talked about, and obviously there's so much concern about AI in general, but everything in computing, I think, for all the automation, for all the computing power and all that stuff, oftentimes there are people on the other end of this thing. And like, even with this sort of highest end AI stuff that we're seeing now, like oftentimes these data sets are being sent to coding farms in India where there are very low paid workers there who are cleaning up these data sets and sending them back and passing them off as AI. So there is this automated element, this digital only element, but also there's always been this human element sort of underneath it that makes it look a little flashier and more polished and more computational than it really is.
It's that human element that makes a scam effective, that introduces the emotional factors that reel people in, even against their better judgment. I think it's time to talk about Cathy. So you respond saying, yeah, I'm in, let's do it. What happens next?
Yeah, so they have my phone number. They want my WhatsApp. I give them that. I get a text from Cathy, who from the company Interleave, who says that she will be my mentor and my coach, and that she's going to put me through the training. She sort of explains to me what the job is. She says that it's AI powered, but there are certain things that AI can't handle, and that's where I come in. we're basically going to be juicing play count for like low performing songs on Spotify and other streaming services with the idea that if the play counts go up, they get more favorable treatment from algorithms at places like TikTok and elsewhere. And if they can get placement in playlists, in short form video, in whatever, the sort of windfall for the musicians is worth the cost of paying this, this entity to promote the stuff. So,
and all of these conversations are happening on WhatsApp.
Oh yeah. She's Cathy is a power user of WhatsApp, and so yeah, she we're going back and forth. We're sending texts. And yeah, so that was a setup. She said that I need to do my training, that they would get me onboarded, and then I would be off to the races making, an incredible amount of money, and for almost no work in no time.
Can you describe the kinds of texts you got from Cathy?
She was a very interesting person. She sort of went back and forth. She was very much a practitioner of like what I would say is like American grind set culture, right? Where she would like text me every morning and be like, today is the day that you change your life. Like you got to grab hold onto this opportunity and like everything that you want is in front of you, and very encouraging at some level, very optimistic. And I get a lot of that, especially in the early going. She was a carrot and stick sort of a leadership style, I guess, because she would also, when I was slow to respond, or if I took a couple of days off, or when I was actually going through the training, I was sort of dragging my feet because I didn't really want to get scammed that badly, and I was like, oh God, like, I don't know how this scam is going to work, and like I'm trying to think ahead, but if I don't, if they get me and I don't realize that I've been got, like I could lose a lot of money, or like whatever, my social security number, it's just like you never know. Anyways, when I was dragging my feet, she would pester me, and she would text me about how disappointed she was with my work ethic. And one time she even just called me on the phone, which is the first time that we spoke.
What did she sound like?
She was definitely a human being. It was a very interesting conversation because it was not a phone number that I recognized. Like her WhatsApp number was different than her calling number, which is no surprise. I answered it. Why did I answer it? Good question. I don't know. I just answered it. And I was like, who's this? And she was like, it's Cathy. And I was like, who is Cathy? What? And she was like, we've been texting for like weeks. Like, do you want this job or not? Like, what's going on? And I was like, oh, yeah, I do. My bad. I'm sorry. She was definitely not a native English speaker. She was definitely a human. And I think that was the first time that I really realized that there was definitely a person on the end of this.
I read the story Alex wrote about this several times, and I interviewed him. And I gotta say, I still cannot tell you exactly what his job was supposed to be. I imagined it kind of like the TV show Severance, where he's just sitting there clicking on groups of things. I am not totally sure that Alex knows what the job was either.
The active part of the website was just this 3x3 grid. It was 9 album covers. There was actually 8 album covers and then a start button in the middle. And I clicked on the start button, and then the album covers would flash as though it was like a slot machine almost. It was like the display on a slot machine. And then one of the album covers would pop up, and then I would hit select or finish or whatever. And that was the completion of one task. So it was 2 clicks. And because I'm a pretty quick study, Lizzie, I realized that you could actually do both clicks without moving the mouse at all. So yeah, that was it. I mean, it was just hammering the old mouse pad 80 times, same spot over and over again.
It sounds like possibly someone was trying to defeat a CAPTCHA and show that a real human was clicking. Is that, in your best estimation, what was going on? Yeah.
So I got with the Slate dev team here.
Probably a good call.
Yeah, the wizards of technology, who obviously understand this much better than I do. And they inspected the site, and they were looking at all of the activity and what was being actually transmitted, and that was the best guess that we came up with, that based on how internet security works now and the way that these websites try to prevent bots from doing things like juicing play count or sending traffic or whatever else. The way that the mouse moves is actually useful information. And also those little captchas that you get hit with every once in a while are, sort of like the toll booths on the internet. And to get around those, someone's got to click. And so it's possible that it was me. It's also totally possible still that this whole thing was just window dressing. Yeah, we never figured that one out. That sort of remains an open mystery.
When we come back, Cathy tries to get Alex to pay up, because of course she does. You were on guard for being scammed the whole time because you knew that's what was going on. When did Cathy first try to get money from you?
It took a little longer than I expected. Honestly, at some point I was like, let's get on with this. I knew my fate. I was like, she'd put so much time into me at a certain point. I was like, let's get this rolling. There was in the early going, there was a moment that seemed like I was going to have to pay $200 something. But then Cathy covered it, out of her own largesse. And so the first time I came up for an actual scam activity was, I think, a few days in, maybe a little more than that. I had earned $85 for my dedicated clicking.
But you hadn't actually gotten any. It's just in some theoretical pot.
Yeah. I was just watching the number go up on the website on interleavekk.com and feeling pretty good about that $85. They were like, you're doing great at this. You're obviously a natural. It's amazing how quickly you've taken to it. But if you're going to progress any further, you need to have $100 in your account, and you've only earned $85 so far. So you need to send $18 to us in Bitcoin.
Okay, that's more than the difference between those two, but okay.
Arithmetic, it's a challenging undertaking. It's a difficult it's a difficult beast. $18 in Bitcoin, to which I was like, is this it? Like, this is what I've been working towards this whole time. I've been waiting for so patiently.
They're scamming me for $18.
And they were like, hey, can you send us $18? And I was like, yeah, okay. Absolutely. And it actually, I'm not like a cryptocurrency user. And so doing this was actually much more of an undertaking than I had understood it to be. And I had to put money into a Cash App account. And then I bought the cryptocurrency. I bought the Bitcoin. But then it turned out that there was a transaction fee on the purchase that I hadn't accounted for. At the end, I told Cathy for all my troubles that it felt like I should just send $17, and she was okay with that. So I sent 17. The art of the deal. I was negotiating, and I sent 17, and she was like, "That's great. Back to work we go." And for a long while, that was all I sent. I mean, I legitimately for weeks, I was $17 in the hole, and that was it. And I was talking to Cathy basically every day.
And what, you were doing more clicking through album covers?
I was doing more clicking. Yeah. I was really honing my approach, distinguishing myself in the industry. I was getting to know Cathy better. We were developing a really intimate workplace relationship.
Well, what did you learn about her, or what she purported to have her backstory be?
I asked her how many people were working for her, and she told me she had 20 other people that were working for her, including me, all over the world. And then I was like, well, can you tell me about yourself? And she was like, yes. And she told me this very involved and polished biographical tale about how she had grown up in the Netherlands, in the town of Enschede, it was misspelled, but and she'd been married there. The marriage had fallen apart. She, in the wake of that heartbreak, had traveled around, didn't know what to do with herself, ended up in the United States, where she had some distant family. And then she got a restaurant job. And then at the restaurant job, she was subjected to persistent sexual harassment. But then one of her fellow waitresses turned out to have a plug that knew about part-time remote work. And so she had signed on at Interleave and been working there for 10 months. And she told me that it had like changed her life dramatically and like nothing was the same. And she had realized all these goals and all this stuff. And that obviously that was about to happen for me as well.
At the same time, Cathys' story was filled with inconsistencies and just weird stuff.
Part of me like wanted to believe that it was true. The one sort of hole in that tale, other than the misspelling of the Dutch town, was that I got a notification on my LinkedIn profile like exactly that time that said that someone with work at home jobs based in the Philippines was if you had viewed my profile. And so I texted her and I said, Cathy, are you based in the Philippines? And she was like, no, why would you say that? I'm based in Arlington, Virginia, USA.
You're a smart, savvy person. I've worked with you. I know you. And yet it sounds like Cathy, whoever Cathy actually is, and this story that she told you had some emotional effect on you, even though you knew it wasn't real.
Yeah, that's totally true. I mean, I think that there was a sort of cynical approach to this where I was like, I know I'm getting scammed by Cathy. Is there any way that I can scam her? Like, is there any way for me to make money on this? If I can anticipate the way this thing works, like maybe there's a way that I can I can turn the tables on this and scam this scammer and make some money. So there was this, so that element was at play also. But also I was like, she's spent an incredible amount of time on me. I mean, truly every day was texting me, sort of like morning, noon, and night.
For how long?
At least 6 weeks. I mean,
wow.
Maybe longer than that. She was leaving me voice notes and, it wasn't light work. And yeah, I think obviously like the biography was made up, but like probably she was like working like a minimum wage job in like a click farm in the Philippines. It's like, I even if that was the real story, like I feel sympathy about that arrangement as well.
Did you end up putting in more than $17?
I tried to cash out and I didn't tell her ahead of time because there was just a button on the website that said withdraw. So I just hit it. And then she texted me and she was like, what do you think you're doing? Like, why would you do this without telling me? And I was like, well, that's part of the job. You said I could get paid every day if I wanted to. And she was like, you don't listen to me. You don't understand. You aren't taking this seriously. And so, I was like, oh, okay. And obviously the withdrawal failed. And then I tried again and same thing, same response, was not well received. And then once I did that, then the asks started coming faster and bigger. I hit what Cathy referred to as a bundle.
BUNBLE.
Yeah, which I think was supposed to be a bundle, BUNDLE. There was some technological explanation for this. It was very involved, but the result of it was that I had clicked on some, extremely low performing songs or whatever, and something happened, and it was great news, but I had to send more Bitcoin to dislodge the bundle, and then I would make that back and more in spades. So that happened. Cathy was very happy for me about that, about hitting the bumble, but she was like, I need $79 to get this thing loosened up, and then the payday is going to be massive after that. And I sent it. I bought the Bitcoin and I sent it along. And I thought that would placate her for a little while. I thought it would give me more chance to pull off withdrawal as well. Unfortunately, I think that things were already tense and they sort of knew where this was headed. So it didn't buy me that much time.
All told, how much money did you put in?
I think I was in for $96 at the end. After that $79 bundle, I got hit for a $350 bundle. I think the next day or shortly thereafter. And so the stuff was stepping up pretty quickly. And at this point, I felt like I sort of knew what was going on there. I didn't feel like there was a lot left to be uncovered. So once I was out 96, I was like, Cathy, at 350, I'm having a hard time seeing my future with this company. on account of the fact that I have been unable to get paid even once so far. And at that point, so I sort of just came clean to her and I said, I think I might have to resign. I have a sneaking suspicion that this whole enterprise is something of a scam.
How did Cathy respond when you finally told her, A, that you were resigning, and B, that you were going to write about this?
I was really hoping that, after that heartrending tale and, all that we had been through, I was like, can you tell me, what's really going on? And she was totally steadfast and did not give an inch. I was like, I think I'm gonna have to resign, and I'm gonna write about this. And I said obviously that I thought that it looked a lot like a scam, and she was like, why would you say that? You don't understand this job at all. You've just started working here. You haven't shown a lot of work ethic. Like, you don't understand the industry and the enterprise. And I've tried so hard to make you into a viable employee, and you're walking away long before you can even see how the fruits of your labor being realized. And I was like, well, I've been at this for a while, and I would love to know what's actually going on. And she was like, get back to work, and would not give it up. And even after we had that exchange, and I said, that's it for me, she continued to text me even into this week, has resurfaced on a new WhatsApp number, texted me multiple times with dismay, saying like, I don't know why you disappear. Like, I don't know why you're so hard to contact in these critical moments. Like, why don't you come back to work?
This is, to me, so obviously scammy. You went into it knowing kind of what was up. Why do you think people fall for these? Because they do.
Totally. Yeah. I think, obviously I think it's sort of a lighthearted story. It's very ridiculous, but I think that these things exist, and they're viable because they do prey on people. And, I think generally it's not people in my demographic. It's I have a pretty high fluency with internet stuff, and, but, people who are older retirees, people who are immigrants who don't have, documentation or work permits, who are frozen out of more, formal, legitimate sectors of the economy. I think if you speak English as a second language, and the typos and the, some of the stuff that for us, I think would raise red flags, those things are harder to decipher. So I think there are more vulnerable sectors of the population who are targeted by this stuff successfully. And I will say that, like, I've gotten emails since the story ran about from people who are exactly fit that particular profile. And I got an email from a guy who said he was 77, retired, and had basically been working in a nearly identical arrangement, and had forked over like a shocking amount of money.
How much?
He in the tens of thousands. I think he said something like $31,000.
Oh my God.
Which is like a horrifying tale. And I think, given that post-pandemic, like, these work from home arrangements are harder to come by, like, there is something very attractive about this notion. And also, if you're a casual news consumer, it does seem like AI is this sort of nebulous thing that is making some people rich somewhere, right? So who's to say that you couldn't do some clicking and get it on that frenzy? Like, I think there are persuasive elements of it, and there are reasons why people would fall for this. And I think, the emotional manipulation is part of it too, right? Like, I found Cathy to be very charming and amusing, but I went into this eyes wide open, and I think that, if I didn't, if I wasn't on the watch for that sort of stuff, it might have been more persuasive, and it persuaded me even knowing all that I know.
Since you quote unquote quit, and since you wrote the story, have you gotten any more of these scams?
Oh yeah, they keep coming. Yeah, I've got. I almost feel like I'm getting them less than the people I know, though. I've gotten so many texts in the preceding days from people I'm friends with, family members and stuff, who've gotten these exact same job offers, and I'm getting them every handful of days. I'm not getting that often at this point, but I feel like everyone else I know is getting them at breakneck speed. So I don't know, maybe I'm on a do not call list or whatever, a do not hire list. My bad work ethic has diminished my employment opportunities.
Alex Salmon, thank you so much for coming on to talk about this story.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Alex Salmon is a features writer for Slate. You got to go on the site and read his story. It's great. We will put a link to it in the show notes. All right, that is it for our show today. What Next TBD is produced by Evan Campbell, Patrick Fort, and Shayna Roth. Our show is edited by Paige Osborne. Mia Lobel is the executive producer at Slate, and TBD is part of the larger What Next family. And if you want to support the kind of independent reporting that allows us to do things like click yes on what is obviously a scam text, you should join Slate Plus. Just head on over to slate.com/whatnextplus to sign up. All right, we'll be back next week with more episodes. I'm Lizzie O'Leary. Thanks for listening.
Good crews don't wait around for help, but the smart ones don't turn it down either. The James Hardie Alliance gives you what actually matters. Training that sharpens your team, resources that keep jobs moving, and leads from interested homeowners. That's the sound of fuel for your business, and it costs nothing to join. Get more from the work you're already doing. Learn more at jameshardie.com/alliance.